the Colin and the Donovan, because that's what's that? Let's get ready.
And on that note, right, here's another, we can kind of move to another topic of like COVID, right?
Yeah.
And
this seems chaotic, but this is how the debate went.
It's exactly how it went. This is exactly how it went. Yeah. And so one of the first questions that was asked about COVID is if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were making, the skepticism around the vaccine worse. And Joe Biden was like, no, that's crazy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, she never said that. Like, even though there are actual interviews where she says like, oh, well, I don't know, if a vaccine comes out before November, we should maybe be skeptical of it.
We should be very.
How does that not how is that not increasing skepticism around a COVID vaccination? And we've talked about it before. If it comes out, I'm going to wait like a while before I'm going to get me a vaccine.
We're not one of those high risk populations either.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm saying I personally am going to wait.
And I think we have the, dare I say, the privilege of saying that because we are not a high risk population.
Right.
Which is nice. Because there is risk.
Right.
There's always risk to vaccines, BT dubs, even the fucking flu vaccine that everybody gets every year. Certain people die every year. We have a fund in the United States government that is directly for paying for these, those the problems that happen with vaccines. Right?
Yeah.
Adverse reaction.
Yeah, because it's not perfect, and you can't account for every individual.
We have a public fund that pays money to people that do die or their kids die or whatever it is from vaccines, because it does happen. But that being said, again, it doesn't have to be a political view to choose whether or not you want to take or partake in a vaccine, especially when it first comes out.
Right.
But the way in which Kamala Harris does frame her argument against it, or does frame her speculation against it, is 100% political.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't trust Trump and his Operation Warp Speed or whatever it's called. So like to get a safe, reliable vaccine to the market. So I'm not gonna take it if it comes out underneath the Trump administration.
When in reality, Donald Trump has zero of anything to do with the vaccine because it's all being done by fucking scientists. Yeah. Like it has nothing to do with any politicians or anything. It's fucking scientists. And I think it was on commentary. They were saying like where they should be saying if a good vaccine comes out before November, we should be celebrating a medical fucking miracle that these doctors were able to cook this up and get this done. But instead, she's saying we shouldn't trust it, right? And this is another, I think, missed opportunity by Donald Trump. This particular statement, and then to bring it to a broader discussion of like political extortion when he was talking about the certain states that aren't opening, until like November 9th, until after the election. Like that's a larger point that you can draw about a political extortion is like a big word, you know what I'm saying? It's like a large idea, but the idea that there are democratic cities and states that are remaining closed until after the election because of one reason or another, or other people that are doing things that are affecting people's lives because of their political ideologies and they differ from that of the president is extremely dark. And I think that was a huge missed opportunity to not hit on that and to be talking about how the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris are talking about how I don't care if I'm Donald Trump, right? Talking about I don't care about people's health. I'm so, whatever, so flippant. And here they're asking you to put your life in question, your safety in question, because they don't agree with me politically, when this has nothing to do with politics, like that's
as far as reopening states and stuff.
Reopening states, vaccinations, any of this shit. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That they're saying, no, we need to stay close, we need to do all this stuff, right? And I'm not planting my stake in the ground on either way, but when they are, like you said, making these what should be scientific decisions so blatantly political, that's a huge point for you to make. I'd
take it a step further to say that at this point, we have all but politicized science in general due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And in which case, it allows them the freedom to kind of step all over science and still call it science or not, depending on which view you have and which states you're talking about, but all towards the aims of this political endeavor of, like you said, like choosing not to reopen till after the election,
right?
But it's been systematic, and it's been since I mean, it probably took a week or two for COVID to become political, 100%.
Yeah.
And then within that, COVID got to grab. I mean, it wasn't long. I mean, we laugh, but that's as sad as it is. You know, perhaps it was days, but we get to that point where within that own COVID, we've decided now that science in general is politicized, and it's free to do that.
And just to be fair, right? If Donald Trump runs with that point, they're going to hit him on math. You know, they're going to talk, well, you said this and this about math. But at the same time, the scientists at the same time were saying that, right? And he kept on way after they said that you should be wearing masks. But in the beginning, we talked about it. The Fauci, the fucking Surgeon General, were saying like, oh, you don't wear them because, you know, for a minute they said we need them to preserve them for this.
It was so important that they lied to us about wearing them because they were so important. They wanted them to get them to just the first line workers.
Yes.
That's how important it was.
So I'm only going to attribute so much of that to Donald Trump because there were actual workers, there scientists that were trying to push that narrative, which was fucking stupid, right? But like they're certainly going to hit him on that, but the fact that he didn't run with that, and then again talking about like closing the borders to China and shit like that, it's 1,000% true that everybody in the Democratic Party called him xenophobic for closing flights to China.
Nancy Pelosi be out there like, come on down to Chinatown, come on down to here. Everybody get out and about.
And when he says that,
everything's okay. Gather en masse. It's not a problem.
And when Donald Trump says that, Joe Biden laughs. He's like, that's not true.
That's not true.
That's exactly what happened. You guys called him fucking xenophobic for closing flights to China. That happened. That absolutely happened. And now you're saying it didn't. Like,
we used to all be really angry about it.
They're fucking.
Don't you remember?
It's gaslighting. Like
6 out of 7 of the news networks were all super angry about it.
And the fact that Donald Trump does not continue to hit home on this, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't keep fucking hammering about like, do you see now how the Democrats are politicizing this and they're trying to make it seem like I'm mismanaging and all this shit when this is what they said and this is what they're doing and now they're talking this about vaccines. That's all anybody gives a shit about right now. Like, it's crazy.
He's the closest version it's the closest we've ever gotten, say, like, as a populace who think that way, who would like to call out the insanity of the politicization and stuff like that. He is the first embodiment of somebody who's been willing to call it out.
Yeah.
But he's incapable of doing it. He's willing to. He
Loose
tries,
cannon, bro.
But he sucks at it. He is about the worst person we could have on our side to get out there and be like, oh yeah, intersectionalism is super terrible and it leads to crazy shit. You can't do all that because that's blatantly unconstitutional.
Critical race theory.
Exactly.
I start talking about that.
You can't
racial
even
sensitivity training.
The fact that when Chris Wallace talks about bringing up his coming out against racial sensitivity training, that is not what anybody is coming out.
Can't even say that's not what I did.
Like, he's coming out against critical race theory, but Trump doesn't know what critical. He might have an idea of what it is, but he can't describe it.
No.
He can't, much less defend it, or
can't articulate that.
He cannot articulate, just like I can't articulate what I'm trying to say right now. Like, he can't articulate the proper arguments that need to be made against those things to actually convince the everyday normal people of America that, like, this is a really fucking bad idea and it leads to 100+ days of violence in Portland. That's why it's bad.
Even when he tried, he was like,
you can't do it.
He was like hitting good general points.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what he's talking about, he just sounds like he's fucking rambling about
it just gets lost in the rest of the
about
chaos
racial sensitivity training, right? And that's I was trying to do my best to tweet that about the time, because when he was talking about that and Joe Biden says nobody's teaching that, you know what I'm saying? That's not true. There are not only is it in different companies, right?
You could see it,
but even on a global scale, we've talked about like agents from China and shit like that coming to schools to teach this type of ideology so that it shifts like the political ideologies in America. We've seen that. It's not even just domestically that it's happening. It's happening internationally, that people are coming here and teaching youth this, and then as an adult, if you already are out of college, we're going to come to your work and you're going to learn this, right? It's fucking everywhere. And so for Joe Biden to be like, oh, that's not happening, like,
and grifters and stuff
certainly
like that. Been doing that
certainly
too.